Hi guys, welcome back to my podcast called Dead Authors Society, where I bring back dead authors of classic books and ask them questions about said books and introduce them to the modern world. Today, we have George Orwell as our guest speaker. His two most notable works are Animal Farm and 1984, but today we're only going to talk about 1984 because it's my favorite. And now, let's move on to our totally tubular public survey. Let's start off. What's your name?
My name's Claudine.
Ben.
Langley Hefner.
Michael McKernan.
Bailey Cannon.
Have you read 1984 by George Orwell? And if so, when did you do that?
Yep, I read it in March and April of this year.
I have. It was freshman year.
Oh, that's nice.
I did it for this year for English, and so currently, I guess.
Yes, I've read it, and it has been been decades ago.
And like the past weeks we read it in class.
Nice.
Not in class. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I got it. What was your opinion on the book?
I liked it. I thought it was like a good warning to society of what could happen if we get out of control.
Nice.
Oh, it's horrible. It's
Oh.
the worst thing I've ever read.
Oh.
Horrible.
Oh. Okay.
I really enjoyed it.
As I recall, the book was a pretty good critique of the rise of a fascist or dictatorial type of government. However, I know it was intended to relate to the rise of communism and also Hitler, that kind of aspects. What I did find is the book's development of those kind of characters and those kind of situations is a bit superficial, and that would be my main complaint about it.
I probably never would have read it if we didn't have to read it for class, but it was eye-opening.
Valid. Would you recommend this book to others?
Yeah, I would. I think it's a good read, especially for the new generation. All these people are going to lead the world one day, so we got to know what not to do.
No.
Oh. That's sad.
I would.
You would?
I would.
That's great.
If you got to read it for an English class, yes,
Okay.
but not beyond that.
Yeah, you can see how like it makes you aware of all the things in our lives that are watching us and listening.
It's a great answer. Thank you so much.
Now that that's over with, let's get on to what's really important, interviewing Orwell on his novel 1984. As per usual, we asked fans of the podcast to come up with some questions to ask Mr. Orwell. So to start us off, what are some themes in your story?
Well, my book has some pretty major themes interspaced throughout the whole thing. And these themes include, but are not limited to, the use of propaganda, liberty, language, and technology. I definitely try to explore these themes to show the ways of Big Brother's control over Oceania and its undermining of individual freedoms for the common good.
Now, I know you published your book in 1949. Did World War II and the society in the 1940s influence your book?
Well, to put it matter-of-factly, yes. The political and social aspects of society did influence 1984 heavily, especially World War II. I intended for the book to be a warning against totalitarian governments, which could be seen in the Central Powers during the war, especially Nazi Germany.
Now, a question I have been pondering about, why are the ministries named the way they are?
Okay, I'm going to answer this honestly. It's my sick form of irony and humor, okay? So, for anyone who hasn't read 1984, the ministries are essentially the different factions of the government in Oceania. There's the Ministry of Love, Truth, Peace, and Plenty. And while their names might give you an idea of what they do, I can assure you it is the exact opposite. The Ministry of Love deals with judgment and, more specifically, punishment. The Ministry of Truth deals with propaganda and the rewriting of history in the media. The Ministry of Peace is concerned with war. And finally, the Ministry of Plenty is occupied with rationing supplies and, in turn, poverty. So, as you can see, yes, the ministries are a very good sense of my irony and sick humor.
Do you believe that individuals can change a society?
Well, let me think about that. Yes, I believe that individuals can change a society, but not alone. It takes an individual to spark a flame for change. However, in order to that change to be successful, there needs to be a dedicated group of people who are willing to do anything to make it a reality. I hinted at this when I wrote Winston to believe that the proles were key to taking down Big Brother. Together, they would be unbeatable united force, but they needed an individual to realize what needed to be fought for.
Furthermore, why do you believe that some individuals take a stand against oppression while others choose to participate in it?
That's a good question. Well, okay. I think it comes down to fear. The saying is true, some people are born to be leaders and others followers. But under pressure, a follower could become a leader. We humans have an innate fear of standing out and being different. In a sense, one could say we're similar to a flock of sheep. If everyone thinks one way, one is most likely going to think that way too. But it takes a true leader to stand out amongst the crowd and be different. And not everyone can do that.
Now for the burning question that's on everybody's mind. Why did you end 1984 the way that you did?
Well, personally, I ended 1984 with Winston being transformed into loving Big Brother because I wanted to leave readers with an unpleasant and unsettling feeling. My book isn't supposed to be happy. As I mentioned before, I created it as a warning as to what can occur to us if we're not careful and don't stand up for what's right. However, in the end, the answer to this question is also up to the reader's interpretation and how they feel. For example, some just think that I'm a pessimist who doesn't believe in happy endings.
Well, before we continue to our next session, let's hear a little bit from our sponsors.
How often do you look up valuable information you need to find on the internet? Like, what's Putin's zodiac sign, or what's my social security number?
Me!
Do you wish there was a one-stop shop to look this information up, watch videos, and have in-home surveillance 24/7 without needing to lift a finger?
Of course, I'm lazy.
Well, you're in luck. Pre-sales for Apple's new iWall are here. Mounted to your wall, this device offers in-home surveillance, videos, and more. Get yours today for only $99,999.99. It pairs seamlessly to your Apple devices.
Introducing the new hit game, Just Dance 2084. With your all-time favorites, Peaches by Bowser, 1-2 Buckle My Shoe, Sin City by Chris On, the Nocturne number 20 in C-sharp minor by Frédéric Chopin, and many more. Get yours today at the Sketchy Alley near Kohl's.
Those were some great messages. Moving on to our next section, 1984 versus 2023. The first thing that I would like to introduce to you, Mr. Orwell, is the movie adaptation of your book 1984, which was conveniently published in 1984. How do you feel about a movie being made for your book?
A movie, you say? That is quite flattering. Well, I guess I would take it as a plus and a minus. Adapting my book into a movie allows for more people to see my message, I guess. Not everyone can sit through a book, I understand, and perhaps they need visuals to understand the messages. However, at the same time, I feel as if this adaptation shows how society is steering away from the hard print. If you know what I mean. Like, people are too lazy to sit through a book, but books hold facts, messages, and feelings that I feel can't be fully transposed onto the screen.
That's a nice answer, I like that.
Thank you.
On a similar note, today we have technology that stays in our homes at all times, like a telescreen, that will listen for you to say something so that you can ask questions or give them instructions to do something, like Alexa and Google Home. A few years ago, there were stories in the news about the government using those Alexas and Google Home devices to prosecute people if they said incriminating things because supposedly they're always listening. What do you have to say on this topic?
Wow. Well, deep down, I knew that technology would become more integrated into the lives of all and be staple in households. The idea of this happening less than 100 years into the future is quite scary, especially the fact that the government itself could use these technologies to listen into homes. That is quite essentially the telescreens in my book. Technology, I believe, in my eyes, is a double-edged sword. Yes, it can make life easier, but at the same time, it can take away from the users. Overall, I think this idea of using the devices you mentioned, what was that, Alexa and Google, thank you, is a major infringement in one's privacy. That's just scary.
Another thing I would like to bring up are the similarities between Newspeak from your book and the language that we use when texting today. So in your book, there is a new language called Newspeak that is designed to diminish the range of thought, and it is characterized by the use of getting rid of or altering words to make it easier for characters in 1984 to not think as much. I think that you would find this to be similar to how we communicate with people now. For example, we use abbreviations like LOL, which means laughing out loud, and BRB, which means be right back. Nowadays, we use a lot of language that is shortened for the convenience of not having to put as much effort into communicating. Do you think that these abbreviations could turn into a form of newspeak?
Yes, I do see where you're going with your shortened language is like Newspeak. And it is interesting how you said that they are shortened for convenience. Personally, at the phase that you're currently at, though, I do not think that these abbreviations could turn into Newspeak. With your phrases and the way you're describing them, it seems like you are not completely getting rid of the original phrases and words. Thus, you're only adding to your modern language and inducing more thought, in my opinion.
Thank you for that. And lastly, based on what you've learned today about the United States now and the world in general, what you knew of it in the 1940s, would you say that the U.S. could turn into what Oceania was like in your book?
Well, from your previous descriptions in life in, what year is it again? 2023, okay. I would definitely say that there isn't a completely zero chance of it happening. I mean, it sounds like we are already in home devices that can listen in on you in languages being abbreviated. However, these two things alone do not cause me to worry too much that the US and the world could turn into Oceania-like place. However, I would still advise all, not just the US, to be wary of this fate. It is never impossible. And if you turn your gaze and steadfastly believe that it never would and never will ever occur, then it most definitely will.
Thank you so much.
Now for my favorite part of the interviews, giving the authors highlights of the 21st century. Are you ready, Orwell?
Not really.
Perfect, let's go! For our first stop, we have the Apple Blossom Carnival, full of rides, flashy lights, food, and of course, people. This is my favorite ride, the Ferris wheel. So, Orwell, are you enjoying your lemonade?
Oh yes, it's pretty good. Except I can't believe it cost $7 whole. Also, this place is, how did you describe it earlier? Sketchy.
Oh, it is. I think we should leave now before a fight breaks out.
Okay.
Moving on, we are here at what I believe is the biggest bookstore in this town, Books A Million. You may be asking, why are we here? We are here to look at the book 1984 in 2023.
Oh, there it is. Am I reading this wrong, or does that say $10?
No, it does say that, yeah.
This price is much too low for my amazing work of art. Who is even getting the proceeds of my book? What is this?
Oh my god, that's my favorite Ed Sheeran album.
How is this worth more than my book?
Oh my goodness, it's the famous book The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. Did you know him?
No. Who even is that?
Oh, that's a shame. It's such a classic.
Wait, how come his book costs more than mine? I'm the real bestseller here.
For our final stop, we went to McDonald's so Orwell could try a strawberry milkshake, because it's my favorite item on the menu. Here you go.
Why is it so pink?
Just try it already.
Well, despite its pink nature, it's actually not that bad.
Sounds good to me! Well, Well, that concludes today's episode. Make sure you join me next week as I interview Karl Marx, the author of my all-time favorite book, The Communist Manifesto.